Today, I'm analyzing Florian WELLBROCK, 14:06 in the 1500 meters, averaging 56 seconds per 100 meters. His catch is clearly perfection. How can he master it so surgically? Let's see what we can learn in terms of propulsion logic. The first thing that interests us is how he can achieve such a perfect and incisive catch. It all happens in several steps. First, the idea is to catch a lot of water in front of the shoulder line and then move it with a high amplitude, progressively accelerating motion towards the back. All of this to move forward, following the law of action-reaction, towards the front. And the better positioned he is in terms of projectile, the easier he can glide. The first thing that enters the water is the hand, followed by the elbow and shoulder. Why does he do that? Because it helps him control his arm to move to step 2, to engage it far in front, to dislocate his shoulder forward. Step 3. Place the hollow of his elbow toward the bottom of the pool. That famous internal rotation at the arm and shoulder level. Then all he has to do is direct his hand and forearm backward, perpendicular to the water's surface. So remember these 3 steps. The first step seems simple, gradually bringing the arm in, controlling the entry. But not as simple as it may seem, as I often see with the students I have and the triathletes I analyze in the French-speaking community. The entire arm enters at the same time, or even the elbow entering first. What does that do? It's like having a weight in the hand, and as a result, the arm often falls directly toward the bottom. So if it falls toward the bottom, it's challenging to dislocate the shoulder forward and succeed in this catch. Because what we observe here, the elbow is almost at the same height as the shoulder, and that requires significant mobility. It's not necessarily what I recommend for everyone because some students may not be able to do it in terms of shoulder mobility, internal rotation, to bring the elbows hollow towards the bottom. Sometimes it's better to have a catch with the arm a bit lower. It doesn't prevent engaging far in front and then controlling what you're doing, right? The first step is always present, engage and control. And having a catch here or there, as long as it's in front of the shoulder line, is okay. It's better to succeed in doing it correctly here, a bit deeper, even if it means having less hard water. So, moving a bit more water. It requires a bit more power, but what you have to put in terms of power, force, don't hesitate to put less in terms of acceleration, because if you move more water, you need less acceleration to have the same forward propulsion. Of course, mobility is something that can be developed. So if today the arm is a bit deeper, it doesn't prevent raising it later when gaining mobility to have it higher and higher. Ultimately, find out how you are comfortable. Technique evolves with the ability to succeed muscularly, in terms of mobility, in terms of fixation, in terms of relaxation on one side, contraction on the other side. In short, in terms of improvement, plain and simple. The second point I wanted to address regarding the catch was this: the strong time during the kick, which allows him to roll to the other side. The roll with the right arm engaging far in front. It also triggers the beginning of propulsion because here, this is the catch. And the catch is a preparation for propulsion behind. There's nothing propulsive in that. What will propel is everything that happens afterward. So what happens afterward? It's basically a translation of the forearm, elbow, and hand on a line, or almost on a line, backward. So toward the feet, swimmer's rear. All of this to move forward in the opposite direction, toward the front. Stated like this, it's certainly easy to say, easy in theory, very difficult in practice, and then to execute. A fairly common mistake I see in my clinics and with the triathletes I analyze is to finish this push towards the ceiling. So pushing the water in that direction and with a palm that comes out of the water, creating splashes toward the ceiling, toward the sky. Here, what we see with Florian, if we go back, is that he took his catch with a high elbow. Then there's the translation backward. So it passes at the vertical level of his shoulder, the hand exactly vertical. Okay, the elbow is more or less at 90 degrees. The idea is to be on that because there he is in a phase I call momentum. And momentum is when all the propelling surfaces, the hand, forearm and arm, are oriented towards the feet, the swimmer's rear. That's where you have the most propulsive surfaces, and it's also where you have the most strength, power, and the ability to accelerate the water strongly towards the feet. So after this phase of key position number 2, his arm here will stick to his body. The forearm is still perpendicular to the water's surface. Only where there is an extension of the arm, this end of the push a bit more dynamic to finish pushing the last masses of water towards the feet. Here, he will have finished his propulsion. And then, what happens is that the forearm comes into contact, like the arm, with a part of his body. Then, the palm of the hand will graze his thigh, and thus the pinky will be the first to exit the water. While what I see in videos of triathletes I analyze is simply the palm of the hand coming out of the water and creating splashes. And having splashes that go upwards, inevitably, the reaction is that you will go more towards the bottom of the pool, or at least you won't propel yourself all the way or with a much more restricted amplitude than Florian has seen. The second point, let's talk about the projectile body. What Raymond CATTEAU calls the resistances to advancement. The idea is to stay aligned from head to toe and to pass under the water's surface from head to toe as well. Why? Because there is less resistance to advancement. And what we see is that Florian slightly looks forward and has the cap emerging from the water. In essence, in terms of resistance, he clearly takes wave resistance, the resistances that are on the surface. If we were swimming here, we would have less resistance than on the water's surface. Of course, we can't swim here. You also need to be able to bring your arms front, release your shoulder, release your elbow, and then release the hand last. So, the idea is to go just under the water's surface from head to toe, so that you can easily recover your arms above the water afterward. Often very good swimmers like him, even with things emerging from the water, especially the cap, it doesn't affect the horizontality because they have very good buoyancy. But someone who started later, who doesn't have the same ankle mobility, who can't point their toes as much, who has slightly heavier thighs, more muscles in the quadriceps, well, inevitably, everything that comes out of the water in front will make the back slightly fall toward the pool's bottom. And so, what will it do if instead of being like on the blue line, we are up here, even if it's never to that extent, but you get the idea, it clearly creates resistance to advancement with the feet scraping the pool's bottom. The interesting question is why he does it. Why does he look a little forward? In my opinion, it helped him build his catch. Why? Because in sensory landmarks, you can have tactile landmarks. So a very simple tactile landmark is to have the palm of the hand here on the thigh. This is something we all know. It's a landmark that many coaches even give in the traditional method because it's precise. And since everyone has the thigh in the same place, everyone can put the palm on their thigh and feel it. Another type of landmark will be visual landmarks, like looking to the side when breathing, and for the catch it will be to look at what you're doing. Do you really have the elbow high or not? Far in front or not? It allows for more precision because humans function a lot with their eyes. That's the second type of landmark. The third will be muscle sensations. To succeed in the catch, a very simple muscle sensation to feel and very simple to implement in the end is to work with a band and try to reproduce this movement. For the catch, just the beginning of the movement with this engagement of the shoulders far in front, this internal rotation, with the hollow of the elbow towards the pool's bottom, and then this flexion of the forearm on the arm. Ultimately, I think that by combining these two landmarks, muscle tension sensations, and watching what he's doing, it helps him build a perfect catch. Or at least it helped him before, and he maintains this habitude today. I can use all of this with my students. But in the second phase, okay, the first thing to build is always the posture before putting the engine, the arm stroke. Speaking of that, I put in the description the magic palm exercise in my free sensory week. An exercise already tested by tens of thousands of people in the French-speaking community. An exercise that will help you gain amplitude, engage the arm more easily in front, and thus prepare for the catch work that will come next. What you need to remember is to associate vision with another type of sensory landmark. So muscle tension to have a movement that will get better and better. And even if it's not fluid and perfect today, as we can see in the video, we all start somewhere. No one can make this kind of movement without a lot of work. And in fact, the idea is to progress little by little. So now we can film ourselves a lot to see what happens underwater, but don't hesitate to put these muscle tensions before training and then go into the water. See what happens if you achieve this catch better and better or not. So what you need to remember from this video is the principle at the catch level. Go far in front, place the hollow of the elbow towards the pool's bottom, but especially do it according to your current mobility and not necessarily try to have the elbow super high like here, like Florian. You can have the elbow a bit lower and still succeed very well. And gradually, as you improve in mobility by doing exercises every day outside the water for 30 seconds, it can already be something that makes you progress very well. Well, it will go back up, and in fact we will adopt the way where we are most comfortable. The second point to remember is about the kick. Having a minimum ankle flexibility. Mobility is crucial to succeed in pressing the water and to manage to roll to the side. One side, boom, and the other side. Feel free to comment on which swimmer you'd like me to analyze next. Until then, see you soon.